Hello, people. So I've touched on this before, but very soon I'm going to be having a big review of this whole channel, and this is absolutely going to be one of my motivating factors in going forward in terms of what sort of approach I want to take. Um, I'm not monetizing this video, so I'm going to basically let rip here because I'm so tired as a creator of having to deal with YouTube's nonsense. I don't know how many of my subscribers are fellow creators, but if you are and you're monetized or you try to get monetized, you'll likely appreciate, empathize with what I'm talking about here. So recently, I'm talking the last few months, YouTube has had a system whereby when you upload a video, you need to see if it's suitable for advertisers. Now, if you're making videos, the primary purpose, at least for me, is obviously to get an audience, to get people to hear what I have to say, to share their ideas as well, um, to generate discussion, knowledge, you name it. That's my primary motive for this. But, if I could get some cash on the side for doing so, that's very nice. So I suppose it's a case of not, how much of the financial pool is there. Now, if I was the sort of creator that was getting thousands of views per video and I kept encountering this problem, I think there'd be a lot more at stake. As it stands, I can't even remember the last time I claimed my revenue because it was minuscule. It was like a couple of pounds per month. So it's been a while since I've even done that. But basically, it's a distraction from a creator's point of view. It would be a bit like if you are writing a book, a novel, and the publisher, as is their job, needs to edit it on some level. But it's like if you're trying to make a particular message with your book or novel, and then they say, "Oh, we don't accept that," change the message completely, or you can make that message, but we will therefore make sure that you only sell 100 copies. I know that's not an exact analogy, but I do feel like I'm being pushed into a corner here as a creator, and it's very frustrating. Now, people aren't familiar with this might think it sounds ungrateful because, after all, why should I get money just for speaking? But you have to remember, YouTube as a company is built up by millions of people like me. Ultimately, when you get down to it, it's built up by millions of individual creators. Some are much bigger than others, obviously. Um, but without us investing time and energy into our channels, then people will go to other websites. It's business in the end of the day. So this rating system that they have in place is nonsensical, and this is why the the premise of this is understandable enough because advertisers obviously wouldn't want to associate with people who really are spreading hate. Okay, if you, for example, are someone who is promoting something illegal online, clearly illegal, or you're using a YouTube video to bully someone, like something along those lines, I can understand advertisers being reluctant to get involved because then they would be associated with it. So I do understand that. I do understand why a certain degree of not censorship, but let's say regulation is needed. I understand that. That's not my issue. My issue is the way this is designed is so poor, so sloppy, so badly defined, that all it does is push creators into a corner. To give an example, if I'm speaking about my thoughts on Black Lives Matter as a movement, as my subscribers know, I'm pretty candid about these things. If I then come to the point where I'm uploading the video and I have to categorize it, so I usually put news and politics or something like that. Then keywords, that's quite straightforward. But then I get to the point of monetizing, and I forget what's called, rate your video, something like that. And they have like these absurd categories, and I say absurd because they have, for example, hateful content. This really, really bugs me because no one's going to describe their own content as hateful, even people who are being hateful. But I don't think mine is, and I think anyone who is being reasonable would look at my content and say that's not hateful. But they have this absurd umbrella term. So I click on that to see what it says, and it says content that is referencing a marginalized group but is made as part of a public debate, which is exactly the sort of thing my video falls under. Okay, so I'll tick that little box. But I bitterly resent the idea that they're forcing me to describe it as hateful content because some people might be offended. Obviously, if you're a Black Lives Matter activist, you'll be offended by it. You won't like it. Is that the same as hateful? And it's infuriating the sheer stupidity, the lack of common sense that is behind this. Now, my technical skills are okay. I've learned some things over the years, but I would still say I'm not, I don't know all the ins and outs of the technological side of this. If I did, probably I'd have a more busy channel. But my understanding is they have the system whereby they automatically rate your content. Now, recently I've been getting these messages, oh, it looks like you didn't rate your last video correctly. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to do this as honestly as I can with the resources that you're giving me. So, for example, if I say darn, I'll put the little box contains mild profanity. I'm trying to be honest because there is an option at the bottom, none of the above. So, of course, I could just tick that, but no, can't do that because if I do that, then they will say I'm not designating it correctly. So they're basically forcing creators to describe the content as something that it's not, and it's absurd. It is absolutely infuriating the lack of the just sheer stupidity of this design. I mean, the categorization of the ratings, they're nonsensical. Controversial content, fine, because controversial, I can live with that because, if you're covering taboo subjects, then it is controversial. But hateful content, YouTube, get it together. That is absolute BS. And, they're going to have to make a decision because if they're now getting into an area where they're going to basically say to creators, you have to censor yourself, or you have to, I suppose it's not technically censoring because I can still technically say what I want, but it means that I'm losing out. Like if I was, let's say this channel was a lot more busy and I was getting thousands and thousands of views per video, then I would be losing out because I would be constantly demonetized. This has happened to a lot more prominent people than me. And then when they've tried to follow up and find out why, what does YouTube do? They will not give specifics. They will not say, we demonetize this video because you said this and this is why. They won't specify. And I think that's unacceptable. Um, if someone has said something that's really against the rules and they know that, then okay, there might be a cause for that. I'm not saying that people should just be allowed to say absolutely anything they want. I know, for example, I couldn't just come out into a video and advocate violence. Words have consequences. So that's not my issue. My issue is YouTube creates unnecessary bureaucracy for creators. They push us into a corner and it's infuriating, actually. So honestly, going forward, I'm seriously tempted to just not bother monetizing at all. And I suppose from my subscribers' point of view, that's a good thing because you won't have to put up with any ads. But it does mean that the chances of getting more viewers is greatly reduced because the advertising helps views. So you see, from a business point of view, they're putting you at a disadvantage. Um, but it's complete bullshit. And I'm letting rip here because I'm not monetizing this. they'll just have to take down videos because they don't agree with the content. Then they are getting into the realm of censorship. And these big social media platforms always boast about how they want to create a platform that's safe and fair for everyone, but we advocate free speech. Well, actually, you're not. If you are basically forcing people into a position where they have to penalize themselves if they're being candid. I could totally understand if I was making a video in which I was making bombs or something, um, or clearly inciting hate. But I will challenge anyone to point to any example in any of my videos where I do anything other than create debate and create debate topics. I have never ever advocated hate against any demographic ever. Um, so it's infuriating, quite frankly. Um, and I'm not the only one that thinks this. So going forward, it means I need to be aware that my target audience might be limited. So that's where I'm asking you guys and girls, my subscribers, please share my videos. If you like my content, please share, please subscribe. And then maybe, my subscriber count will grow. It's not the most important thing for me. The most important thing is that people are listening and maybe thinking about the things I'm talking about. But and certainly the financial aspect is not the most important thing. Far from it. So I'm not bothered about the fact that I'm not really getting money. What I am bothered about the fact is the implications of this. The fact that this, massive company, this extremely powerful company, is pushing, dare I say it, the little man into a corner. Um, it might be that one day I'm a public figure and then these videos will get more views anyway, just because I'm famous. But it's it's bullshit. Absolute bullshit the way they do this. And I appreciate that you can't directly see what I'm talking about unless you're another creator. If you are a creator, you'll know what I'm talking about. You might disagree, but I personally think it is very restrictive, very shackling, and sometimes I've requested reviews, and sometimes they have come back in the clear, which means the system is flawed. So anyway, going forward, I think I might do that because I'm so sick and tired of seeing these stupid messages. Your last video wasn't monetized correct. I mean, this is all the time, pretty much. And I know I sometimes push the boundaries in terms of, well, I raise controversial subjects, but not in every video. And when I raise controversial subjects, I'm doing it in the context of debate. I'm doing it in the context of this is my opinion, agree or disagree. But I'm never ever advocating violence or stirring up hate just because I criticize BLM or woke ideology or Donald Trump or whatever the hell it might be. Get it together, YouTube, because you're polarizing creators with this nonsense. It's a bad system. And another thing that irks me off is they won't listen to feedback. I filled in a survey a while back and I told them all these things. Of course, they won't take it on board. So it's frustrating. So to save the stress, at least temporarily, I'm just not going to monetize. At least temporarily until I see some signs that they're going to start respecting creators. Because it's BS, it really is.